Okay. So the class is being recorded. And this is me again, Dr. Sama. One final call before we go. If you guys all can hear me, please raise your hands. Hands up if you can hear me. Okay. Nice. Very good. Let's go. So what is it that we're doing today? We're starting book 2, and in book 2 we're going to have only 3 chapters. We're having this chapter on Plato and moral beliefs, and then we'll move on to a chapter on poetry and a third on English Christianity. Inshallah, easy stuff, very accessible given how good you are. But I'm not worried. So let's start with the first chapter. On the title of the book is very interesting. It's what's the theme of the title of the second book? It's Tradition and Dissent. So tradition and dissent, and as you can see, this is a binary or a dichotomy. Dichotomies and binaries are opposites. So you have tradition on the one hand, and you have dissent as an opposite. So tradition is when you uh, follow rules and norms normally inherited by the old or from the old generation. And dissent is when you say, no, I'm not going to follow this piece of tradition because perhaps it doesn't address my mind. I don't think it is in line with what we're having in our modern lives. So this is going to be some kind of clash, a clash between whatever is traditional and whatever is reasonable, whatever is rational and intellectual. I mean, the whole chapter is about just that. So we're going to start off with defining traditional beliefs, what a traditional belief is. And then we move on to philosophy, where we're going to talk about Plato. I'm hopeful that the names will ring bells at the back of your minds. We have Plato, and we also have Socrates. Um, and we're going to talk about how they see tradition and how they believe that yeah, tradition can be good and everything, but this is obviously not the end of it. We need to also kind of subject tradition to reason and mind and see whether the mind will accept those items of tradition or not. If the mind, if our thinking minds accept them, that's fine. If not, we need to keep this piece of tradition away. So this is going to also be part of the conversation. We'll talk about Plato and his teacher Socrates, and we'll see whether Socrates is the historical Socrates that everybody knows, or perhaps he is made up for the purposes of the conversations that we're having. And then we move to the extracts, Plato's extracts themselves. And they are taking, as we're going to see, from some of the dialogues that Plato wrote. And normally he has, high profile people being the participants in on those highly intellectual conversations. One of them is Laquise or Lachos. I keep saying Lachos, but I tried to track down the origin, but obviously I'm the only one in the world who says Lachos. But it's Laches. We have Laches and how he sees Greek tradition. And we're going to have examples through which Plato and Socrates are trying to expose tradition for what it is, good and bad. And in order to do that, they are going to also engage in, you know, logical debates and logical arguments. And that would be a very good chance for us to get to know the different reasoning techniques and mechanisms that people use, whether we're talking about deductive reasoning or inductive reasoning. I'm sure you may have heard of them, but what we're doing, perhaps we're shedding more light on those different reasoning techniques and ways. So along with um, Laches, we're going to also have Nicias, another um important Greek figure, and Socrates is going to engage with him in a number of definitions and questions. Um, we'll have a chance to make a distinction or distinctions between knowledge and opinion. Sometimes people take opinion for knowledge and knowledge for opinion. Obviously, it's about time that we made those distinctions between the two. Um, and then we'll go all the way to um, the basic idea or the bottom line, which is the fact that Plato rejects tradition on reasonable grounds. The fact that he is a rationalist, he is a philosopher, and philosophy is about using your mind. So whatever does not appeal to your mind is normally rejected by philosophers like Plato. And we'll end the whole effort by speaking about the Socratic method. The Socratic method is a way of engaging people in conversation so that you can get more and more about a certain issue. And it depends on the idea of asking questions. You ask a question, and then when you receive an answer, you ask a further question and a further question until you get on the nerves of the one that you're talking to. That's why they say in his conversations, Socrates can be very um, boring, can also be very annoying, to say the least. We'll see how the Socratic method has been used in teaching and learning for centuries and whether we can still apply it in our modern times or no. Let's go. Remember that the framework is philosophy. What we're in for is philosophical arguments, perhaps things that we may not meet in our daily encounters, because in our daily encounters we take lots of ideas and lots of things for granted. We don't challenge so many of the things that we have in life. Otherwise, life is going to be very difficult. If you stop and question and challenge every single thing in life, that can be very difficult, to say the least. But this does not happen with philosophers and philosophy. With philosophy, obviously, this is the main idea behind philosophy. Let me see if I can have you also, because philosophy is about asking those big questions on our behalf. Um, a philosophy is a Greek or is a West. I wouldn't say a Western invention because there was philosophy in the Middle East. I mean, Mesopotamia, modern day Iraq, and the ancient Egyptians and the Syrians, and there was also far Eastern philosophy if we talk about China, if we talk about India, but perhaps it was a different brand of philosophy where the focus is on practical issues. So Western philosophy is um, intellectual, it's mind based, it's based on the mind more or less, while Eastern philosophy is a practical kind of philosophy, um, very pragmatic in the sense that they don't kind of fly away from the here and the now. They are rooted in the here and the now. Our concern is obviously Western philosophy, and Western philosophy starts with in the ancient Greeks. And when I say ancient Greek philosophy, I mean three very famous philosophers. I mean Socrates, I mean Plato, and Aristotle. In, in terms of order, Socrates came first, and he is the teacher. Plato is his student or pupil, and Aristotle is the pupil or the student of Plato. So obviously, Socrates is the teacher of teachers. We'll talk about their different types of philosophies, whether they have the same type of philosophy or they have different philosophies. Let's go back to philosophy. Philosophy in Greek would mean the love of wisdom. So philo means love and Sophie means wisdom. So it was all about the love of wisdom, and wisdom for them would mean, you know, reflecting on what happens around us, thinking of the world and how it came into being, thinking of grand narratives and big ideas. So when I say philosophy, I mean Western philosophy, and I mean ancient Greece, where specifically in ancient Greece, we mean Athens. And this is where um, philosophy started. Oh, okay. So when I talk about philosophy, I talk about two main branches. I talk about ontology and epistemology. Uh, um, Ontology in philosophy would address grand questions, big questions, like I told you, the nature of existence, the nature of death, how we came into being, what life is made up of, what is the origin of things? Is it water? Is it the air? Is it earth? So these are all ontological questions. It's about the nature of being, and this is obviously very abstract. The other branch of philosophy is epistemology, and epistemology is asking questions about our knowledge, about our sources of knowledge as human beings. How do we know what we know? How do we get the knowledge that we now have? Is it through our senses, our eyes, our nose, our ears, by touching things? This is one of the questions. Do we get knowledge? Do we know about the world through our senses, or um, through our minds, our reason, and our brains? So these are the questions that epistemology addresses and answers about. It's about our knowledge, how we know about the world. Is it with our senses? Is it only through our senses? And this is what they call empirical knowledge. Or is it through our mind? So obviously, this is rational and intellectual. Or is it through intuition? Intuition, you just know things without knowing whether you knew them through your senses or through your mind. Or is it a mix of both your senses and your mind? Or is it a revelation? Revelation means uh, divine revelation, al-wahy al-ilahi, through what we receive from the messengers and the prophets. So these are ideas that the epistemology addresses. Again, when we talk about philosophy, we talk about those who engage and work in philosophy, and we call them philosophers. Okay, and the most important philosophers down through the ages have been Greek, and they were, like I said, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. So, what kind of philosophy do they engage in? Socrates was a moral philosopher. He focuses on morality. He doesn't concern himself with nature, with physics, with how the world was made. He doesn't also concern himself with the mind. He focuses on the human being, whatever is inside the human being. He talks about virtues and the lack thereof. He talks about vices. He talks about courage. So these are moral issues, and Socrates is a moral philosopher. And then came Plato after him. Plato was his student, and he took philosophy to another direction where he focuses on the intellect, on the mind, on your power of reason. And he has his what we call his ideal philosophy, where he believes that every object in nature has a corresponding ideal outside nature. You don't know whether it is in the mind or in the imagination. It's somewhere away. So this is his philosophy, and his philosophy is not a moral philosophy. It is a rational philosophy where the focus is on the mind, not on the senses, not on moral issues. It's on the mind and what happens in the mind, and what comes out of it. And then we come to the third philosopher, Aristotle. Aristotle, with more of a physicist, where he focuses on nature, where he focuses on the rules of physics, how the world is created, the different objects of nature. And he does all of that through the senses. He believes that the senses can be our starting point for understanding the world. So he is a physicist, a physical and a natural philosopher, where nature, and by nature, of course, we mean whatever is in nature. We're talking about the atmosphere, we're talking about deserts and rivers, and he studies all of that and he comes up with theories. In this case, of course, you deal with nature using your senses, sense of touch, sense of hearing, seeing. That's why we're saying that his philosophy is empirical philosophy. So empiricism is about using your senses. So you can say that he is one of the very few or the first empirical philosophers. So if Plato is a rationalist, Aristotle is an empiricist. And like you said, Socrates is a moral philosopher. Let's move on. So in order to engage with issues, obviously the issues that we've been speaking about are very big, very um, you need to it does take smart people. It does take people who use their minds and think. And um, so when dealing with philosophical issues like the issues that Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle raised, you need to have logic and reasoning and the ability to use your mind. So when philosophers use their minds and their sense of logic, when they think about the issues that they raise, they think about them either in a deductive way or in an inductive way. So when it comes to philosophy and even in life, we either look at issues and ideas in a deductive way or in an inductive way. Uh, Look at the example that I'm giving under deductive. Deductive reasoning, when I say, for example, everyone in this class is an English major, Amr is in this class, and the conclusion would be that Amr is an English major. Okay, so you start with the general and then you specify. Are you getting the point? This is what we call deductive reasoning. This is what they call stintag. Okay, so this is one way of saying things. Inductive reasoning is about generalizations. When you generalize in the sense that from a pattern that you think gets repeated, you come up with a generalization. When, for example, you see Sameh, when Sameh speaks in Arabic, he sounds Egyptian to you. And then you see who Maryam Radwan speak in Arabic, and she sounds Egyptian to you. And then you come up with a conclusion and say the whole class is Egyptian. This is obviously a generalization, and it's a wrong one because perhaps Sameh and Maryam are the only two Egyptians in class, unless we have other people and I'm not aware of. So if you're Egyptian, raise your hand. I'm raising my hand. Okay. Okay, so what's wrong with inductive reasoning? Inductive reasoning is about generalizations, and we agreed, perhaps it was last time or the time before, that generalizations are not correct. Are you getting the point? Okay. Anyway, whether your logic is deductive or inductive, you need, in philosophy, you need to start an argument. And an argument is normally made up of what we call premises and conclusions. Premises means that you provide a number of, um, you know, what do they call them? In mathematics, they would say, uh, wait, معطيات, given things. And conclusions are conclusions. Those conclusions are results. They are based on the given. So premises and then conclusions. If you start with conclusions, okay, and then you provide the premises later, this is inductive. And nobody starts with conclusions, right? Like this Egyptian example that I am giving, you start off by saying that the whole class is Egyptian, and then you go and ask everybody whether they are Egyptian or not. Obviously, it's very يعني comic. Huh? What do you think? Let me ask you, if you have to choose between deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning, which of them is more logical to you? Look at the example in green.
Deductive.
Yes, deductive.
Obviously deductive. Obviously.
Yeah,
Deductive.
nice. Very relevant.
Doctor, doctor, we can't hear you. Your voice is
Wait, can you hear me now?
yes.
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 Again, I'm asking about logical fallacies and whether you have heard of them ever. Raise your hand if you have heard of them. No, which is fine. If you don't know, you don't know. Which is very strange still, given the fact that, mashallah, you're yeah, it seems to me, and I think I'm not mistaken, that you guys read a lot, and I mean, your English is good, and being advanced in English means that you read and you connect things together in logical ways and stuff. But anyway, perhaps you know what they mean in Arabic when I say in Arabic المغالطات المنطقية. Have
Yes.
you
Yes.
you heard about them, right? So
Yes.
المغالطات المنطقية is logical fallacies, and they are very interesting. If you go and study them, it would make your life, it's going to be fun because you're going to see how people make error in judgment very easy, like assalamu alaikum. It's very, I mean, In every conversation, you'll be engaged, and you'll find people making all types of logical uh, um, mistakes. And like I said, sometimes they are very funny because of the seriousness of the speaker. But because you know that he or she is at fault logically, you sometimes you cannot help it. You find yourself laughing and smiling and everything in between. So I would like you to go and do some research on logical fallacies, whether in Arabic or in English. You're going to find them fun, a great deal of fun, I promise you. So can you promise me to do that? Logical fallacies. They are not, by the way, related to our course. If you don't want to go there, but obviously you're denying yourself the pleasure of knowing more about human nature. So if you're ready to go and do research, not now, of course, after class. If you're ready to go and do research on logical fallacies or المغالطات المنطقية, please raise your hands. Nice, very good. Nice, very good. Okay, okay. Okay. Yeah, this is also a very limited time offer. I'll give you a mark if you go and check and come back to me next time with ideas. How about that? One mark. Yeah, let's move on. Okay. Talking about philosophy, we're talking about using our minds. We're talking about inductive and deductive reasoning. Let's see how this impacts teaching and learning. When it comes to teaching, we have two types of teaching. Um, in terms of techniques and also in terms of the setup of the class. In terms of the setup of the class, we have that traditional method where you have what we call teacher-fronted classes. The teacher is in the front, and then you have the students facing him, sitting in rows. Isn't that the traditional setup that we come from? I'm asking you. Teacher-fronted classes. The teacher is the center of the universe. The teacher sits in front, not sit. I mean, he can sit or stand, of course, he or she. And then you have the students facing him in rows. Isn't that the traditional way or setup? I'm asking you, raise your hands. You don't know? You came from nursery to university right away? No stages in the middle? Mariam, you're raising your hand because you agree that it was teacher fronted, where the teacher is in front of the students and they sit in rows. Mm. Who else believes that this is the traditional way? This is the traditional way. Traditional means taqlidi, and that the one that everybody. Let's have Mariam, uh, you know, on board about that. Mariam, what do you think from your
I think
experience?
yes.
Go ahead.
The teacher or the one who presents
Yeah.
lecture or
Yes.
lesson or class, she is standing in the front, and
Mhm.
we are
Okay. Okay.
the,
So
in front of her.
yes. Okay. This is the traditional way in terms of setup, and also in terms of how ideas go. In the traditional method, the focus, where does the focus lie? Is it with the teacher or the students? I'm asking everyone. What do you think, Abdulillah?
With the teacher,
The teacher.
yes, obviously.
The focus is normally on the teacher. The teacher speaks a lot. The teacher gives. Okay. So this is the traditional method, and we also have what we call the Socratic method. And obviously, the Socratic method is taken or from and is inspired by Socrates and the ways or the way he teaches his students and the way he talks to people. The Socratic method is about asking questions. In terms of setup, you don't normally know where the teacher is. With the Socratic method, the teacher is a man among men or a woman among women, where sometimes you cannot tell who the teacher is because the teacher is not the focus. The teacher sometimes gives prompts, asks questions, and leave everybody on their own to do research, to answer the question. He doesn't say everything. Sometimes he says nothing. Let's move on. So when we talk about teaching and learning, this is how it goes. With the traditional method, we have instruction. Instruction is giving, is when you have the teacher uh, giving everything, explaining. Instruction is about explaining. So who does the explaining, the student or the teacher normally? What do you think?
Teacher.
The teacher, right? With, yeah, you're raising your hand.
Usually, who gives the instruction is the teacher, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. And this is a part of the traditional method that we spoke about. There is a different type of teaching and learning, which is based on the Socratic method. And this is where instead of instruction, instead of explaining, we have discovery. And who discovers? Obviously, the teacher doesn't discover for his students, right? The teacher allows or gives space for the students to discover. He gives them a prompt, perhaps a question, and they are on their own doing what? Researching. And then after they research, they investigate and they finally reflect on what they have come out with. So as you can see, discovery is related to the Socratic method, where it's, let me ask you, now that we have seen the two methods, which of them is direct teaching and which of them is indirect teaching?
Tradition method.
Yeah, the traditional method is what?
Direct teaching.
Is direct teaching.
Direct.
While the Socratic method, which is
Direct.
based on the idea of discovery, where you have to do research and investigate and then reflect, this is, of course, indirect teaching. Okay. S- Let me keep this question until the end. Which of them appeals more to you? Which of them is would be your favorite if you're given the opportunity and the choice? Mm,
Tradition.
tradition.
Yes.
How about Mariam? Mariam
Uh,
Radwan.
yeah. Honestly, I really like discovering on my own. I really like the research.
Mm. Mhm. Okay,
I,
nice.
I really, yeah, I'm always on the internet. I'm with this generation, we have our phones and everything. So, the indirect way seems a lot more appealing with this generation's
Uh,
development.
yeah, let me ask everyone, which is going to last with you? Which of them, which of these two methods of learning and teaching, learning is going to stay with you? The instruction based, the traditional method, or the Socratic discovery method? Obviously, learning does not stop with you graduating, right? We have what we call lifelong learning, where you learn as you proceed. And Jasmine, go ahead.
Discovering. We were gonna be discovering, especially after graduating and moving on.
Yes. Okay, so instruction and the traditional method will come to an end at one point, which means that stay here, for example, for 4 years. Um, and after that, I mean, you don't have the teacher around. So obviously, better learn to discover and do research. And Hala, go ahead. Hala, you're raising your hand.
Yes, I was gonna say I'm discovery too.
Yes. Okay, so this is actually the new trend. This is sometimes even called guided discovery, and this is what we're starting to adopt and embrace in schools. We tell teachers, don't talk too much, don't explain too much. I mean, give the students prompts, and they are on their own. You can help them if they ask questions, for example, if you think that they are struggling, but don't explain everything, because explaining everything is sometimes insulting, because people were not born yesterday. People know, students, we keep saying that students are more knowledgeable than we give them credit for. Okay, so this idea of discovery is obviously way better than direct instruction and the traditional method. Okay, perhaps I need to take the opportunity and go here. Look at these different pictures. Can you see them? Hello.
Yes, yes, I can.
Okay, nice, good. So these are classroom setups. I would like, first of all, to ask you, let's focus on the first two pictures, the above. Which of them is traditional and which of them is the Socratic method? If I say, sorry, Okay. So which of them is the traditional method and which of them is the Socratic method from 1 and 2? Jasmine, go ahead.
The first one is giving traditional method, and
Yeah.
the second Socratic method.
Yeah, I agree. Nice. Can you, where do you think is the teacher in the second picture? Can you easily identify the teacher in the second picture? Amr?
No.
No.
No, it looks
Steffi.
like they all participating actually.
Yes. Right? Which is Socratic or traditional? What do you think?
Socratic, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yes. Okay. How about picture number 3? Is it Socratic or traditional?
Traditional.
What is
Traditional.
traditional?
No.
What is traditional about it?
It's giving that they're all discussing something, so it's Socratic.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, man, if you think that the guy in red is the teacher, you're mistaken. He can be
Oh, I'm sorry.
any.
I thought he was a teacher. I'm sorry. I thought it was I'm sorry.
No, no. Okay. I kept this question for so long. What do you think of our class? Do you think it's Socratic or traditional?
Traditional.
I think half and half.
It's
It's
hybrid. I
both.
try to make it.
Actually
Yeah.
both. It's actually both.
Yeah, because I ask you questions and I leave you, but you never answer me.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a lot of
If,
time. A lot of times we have to do also research on our
mm,
own, like
yeah,
after class to be because
but I don't make it. I mean, it also it depends on the teacher. If I insist on you doing research, in this case, I am adopting the Socratic method. But do I insist? No.
No, it's a traditional way. Yeah.
Yes. Which is obviously very unfortunate because we're promoting the other one, the Socratic method. Anyway, let's move all the way back. So what we're doing actually this time around is a little bit different because we're not reading casual essays, things that you can see on the internet or in the newspaper. We're doing something more serious than that. We're reading philosophical extracts and philosophical tracts. And as you can see, philosophy is about using your own mind. Philosophy is about discovering things, is about doing research. So when you do research and you don't have a text that you can rely on, like here, for example, at least here we have a curriculum. We have a set book that you can read from. And when you have a set book, the set book is normally moderated. Moderated in the sense that uh, people read the material and they decide, yeah, let's not use this expression because it's perhaps very sophisticated. Let's drop this word and use an easier one. This grammar or structure is difficult. Let's use a simpler structure. See? But if you're doing research, and if I ask you to do research, you're going to go to the internet, for example, where obviously nobody is tailoring the material so that it can be suitable. So you are left on your own. So if you're left on your own, it means that you need to develop the needed skills so that you can be able to read material on your own, right? And part of the material that you may read is highly intellectual, can be philosophical, and philosophy is highly intellectual. So what do you think people should do? People should obviously learn how to read those philosophical tracts, how to know how to read them. It's not about reading, and by reading here I don't mean the organized noise that we produce. I mean by reading here I mean understanding something. Okay, so in order to understand philosophical texts, you need to do a number of things. And here we have a list of tips and pieces of advice as how you can approach a philosophical text. I'll give you a couple of minutes, not a couple of minutes, actually 4 minutes, because um, it needs your concentration and focus. I'll give you 4 minutes to read it on your own, and I would like you to turn it into a list. If you have a pen or a pencil handy, I would like you on a piece of paper to the title would be How to Read a Philosophical Text. So read this passage and tell me one, and then write the point, two, and then write the point, three, and so on. Can we do that in 5 minutes? Yes, we can. How to read a philosophical text. Where is the answer? The answer is here. Oh, how are you going to give me the answer? You're going to give me the answer in points. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Is that clear enough? Raise your hands if it's clear. Yalla. 5 minutes and I need to see lists. Go ahead. Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, doctor. You can.
Okay. So let's have nominations for the best list ever. Raise your hands if you're done with the list. Yalla, Amr, go ahead.
I'm not sure I'm on the right track,
That's
but I would say
you don't.
my best.
Yeah, Amr. You seem to be very apologetic about every move you make. You're doing an excellent job. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So
Thank
don't keep having disclaimers. You're
you.
doing an excellent job, wallah. Yalla, ya Amr,
Thank you.
go ahead.
Appreciate it. I would say the first point would be pay attention to details.
Nice, good.
Read the whole section in order to get the guest.
Just.
Sorry.
Mm, mm,
Uh, uh, After reading the whole section, the next thing will be finding the key points,
mhm,
then rephrasing the key point into my own word.
mhm.
And as much as I can, I wouldn't try. I would try to put it in my own word, but not changing the meaning. I would try to make it in direct and as easy as much. This is my list.
Excellent. Good. Thank
Thank you.
you. Jasmine? Jasmine, you're raising your hand.
Yeah. So first, of course, details and thinking critically, which is engaging with the paragraph, highlighting the keywords or phrases we have, and then we can express and observe the keywords directly, of course.
What do you mean by express and observe? Where did you get this from? Are you making your own list, Jasmine?
No, from reading the paragraph.
Okay. Fine. You're doing an excellent job, though. Thank you. Can we have more? Uh, okay. Fine. Let's look at the list.
Doctor, isn't it from the last three lines, I believe, is where I got when I have to express the main key points or the
I-
highlighted
I'll
key points.
I'll show you the answer key. I'll give you the list and you decide for yourself. How about it? So this is the list. I'll make it as big as I possibly can. Give you a minute or two to look at it very closely, and then we can talk about it. Okay. That clear, everyone? If you think this is clear, raise your hands. Okay. Very good. So that would also apply to whatever we read. If reading, if what we're reading is serious reading, we have to do that. Sometimes you read for pleasure, of course, which is obviously the subject of another day. You wouldn't I mean, because it's fun, you can have your own way of, you can even start your own list for pleasurable reading if you like. Okay. So takeaways, if we think that there are takeaways from the list, something that you think is very important, all of them are important, but um, if you have to take one of them away, which one is going to be the one? Or let me tweak it a little bit. Which of these tips or techniques you yourself do? Jasmine, you're very active today, mashallah.
And highlighting the keywords or phrases always helps to have a better engagement with the paragraphs.
This is what you yourself do, right?
Yeah.
Nice, very good. Abdelilah,
Like Jasmine said, underline or highlight keywords or phrases.
nice, very good. Okay. Do you sometimes write things, I mean, on in your own words?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on. Now we talk about what they refer to as moral beliefs, because obviously this is what the whole argument is about. It's about moral beliefs. Let's agree, first of all, on what beliefs are, and then we see whether they are moral or otherwise. What are beliefs? What is the meaning of the word beliefs? Mariam?
Something that I believe in.
Yeah,
Or
this is a circular definition because you're also using the word believe. So obviously we didn't explain what the first beliefs is to use believe, right? So this is what we call circular argument or circular definition. تعريف دائري that does not get us anywhere. Abdel Ilah,
Something that you have faith in.
that you what?
That you have faith in.
That you have faith in. It's good that you didn't say that you believe in. So never, whenever somebody asks you about the meaning of something, never use a variation on the word that we want the meaning for or of. Amr, go ahead.
Something that I think is true. It might be, it may not be, but I think personally like it's true. So
So
it's kind
beliefs are ideas that you embrace. Embrace means that you hold dear and near. I wouldn't say believe in because believe in is a variation on belief. So that would be very circular. So let's agree on the fact that beliefs are ideas, are thoughts, are values. So beliefs are ideas, values, and thoughts that you follow. Let me put it this way. So these are beliefs because you think they are good and everything. You don't hold or follow beliefs that you don't like unless and then I will come back to unless in a minute. Okay, so these are beliefs. So beliefs are ideas, thoughts, and values that you think are good and you follow them. Okay. How about moral beliefs? So you would add moral, the adjective moral to them to say that those thoughts and ideas or values are moral, um, and I um, subscribe to them or I follow them. Okay. When it comes to beliefs, sometimes you develop those beliefs, you acquire them from your own experiences in life. And some other times, perhaps most of the time, you inherit them, you receive them from the old generation. Okay? So those ideas, those thoughts, those values are sometimes based on your experience in life and your readings and everything, and most of the time they are inherited, means that you inherit them, they are part of your legacy. You don't only inherit property and money and cars, you can also inherit beliefs. Okay. So your beliefs become part of your tradition. You inherit tradition from the old generation. And part of them is perhaps the belief system and the values and everything. Okay. So if those beliefs come from the old generation with their own mindsets and mentality, do you think that all those beliefs are correct and accurate and you can use them in your modern life? I'm asking everyone.
Yes, because it's been passed down from generation to generation.
Yes, but does this make them accurate and um, practical enough for us to use in the modern time? This is my question again. Amr.
Uh, I think not all not all of them, but most of it because it comes from based on our religion.
Hmm. So if
As
they
long
are, yes, if they are religious beliefs, you're likely not to question them, right?
yes, true. Because I believe
Okay.
you come back to the word belief. I believe that as long that God made us, He knows best for us. So it
Yes.
wouldn't be none good
Y-
for us or bad.
Yes. If they are religious beliefs.
Yeah.
But what happens if they are social beliefs, like what, or even moral beliefs, like judging people based on how they wear, how what kind of clothes they wear.
Still, if in objective like from God, but it's if
Mm,
it's subjective like from
mhm,
my father or mother or ancestors,
mm.
probably they're wrong. I can see. Uh,
Because of the generational gaps
yeah,
that we have, they have a mindset that is obviously different. They didn't live our age, and we didn't live their age, right?
yes, yes, true.
Yes. Jasmine has something to say. Go ahead, Jasmine.
Beside the religious beliefs, of course, the traditional and cultural beliefs is not really convenient enough. That is impacting weird rules that we're not going with easily in our generation.
Yeah, we wouldn't say that most of them, but some of them may not be suitable for us. Um, so how can we judge whether those beliefs and those sets of tradition are convenient and suitable for our time or not? How can you judge?
I think the environmental support. with the
I
way.
mean, I now have in front of me all the beliefs of the past, all the sets of tradition, and I am filtering them. I'm having to cut, and I'm saying, oh, this is practical and it can help us in our modern times, and this is not. So, what is the criteria? How can you judge whether something is practical enough to stay and something is not logical or practical enough and we should let it go? Um,
Again, my criteria would be my religion. It's hard to
okay.
follow, but this is the
Yeah.
criteria.
Yeah. Yes. This is we agreed on if they are moral beliefs, but
Yeah.
if they are social values, if they are tradition that has to do with wear this and don't wear this, yeah, do this and don't do that, um, uh, open your shop on that day and don't open it on that other day. uh, these are obviously not religious beliefs.
Maybe I
So
would
how? Yeah,
maybe
yeah, go
say
ahead.
like based on what the word came to, like from experience and
Hmm.
studies, that I would put
Yeah,
my criteria.
wouldn't you think of using your mind, judging based on your mind, and whether that what is being judged can um, can work with your mind? Your mind accepts it. Why do we have our minds? Why do you think God created our minds?
To use them to think.
Yeah, to use them to think, right?
Yeah.
So one way of doing it would also subject the thing to your mind and see whether it makes sense or not. Sometimes you inherit stuff that doesn't make sense if you use your mind, right? So that can be part of the criteria. So back to moral beliefs, we're focused on moral beliefs as part of the tradition. The tradition or sets of traditions are things that you receive from the old generation, right? You inherit from the old generation. And we agreed that not all that comes from the old generation is good. Remember, ليس كل ما ذهب ذهب. Not everything that went or came from the past is gold, right? So we're going to apply the same criterion or set of criteria. So when you have practices from the old generation, what we refer to as tradition, okay, we either accept it as is, and this is what lots of people do. They accept whatever comes from the old generation, from the past, as is, no question asked. Okay, this is a school. You have other people who would think of whatever comes from the old generation, which is another school. So if you have philosophers, okay, like Plato and Socrates and all those people, what do you think they are going to do? Are they going to accept whatever comes from the past as is? Or do you think they are going to use their mind and see and check whether it's reasonable, it's good, or it's not? Philosophers.
It's doctor. Maybe they will use their mind and
Yes.
change a little in
Okay.
the
Right.
beliefs.
So we now, when it comes to moral beliefs, when it comes to tradition, we have two ways of thought. We have two ways of thinking, two schools. We have traditionalists and we have rationalists. Okay? You have those who take things as is from the old generation, okay, including moral things, and we're going to call them moral traditionalists. And we have people like philosophers who do not accept everything. They say, no, we're not going to accept anything from the past. We need to use our mind and our intellect, and we see whether those things from the past make sense or not. If our mind and reason agree, we accept them. If our mind does not agree, we don't accept them. And we call them moral rationalists. And the school is called moral rationalism. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, clear, doctor.
دكتور يعني rationalism that's
Mhm.
use mind.
Yes, rationalism means using your mind. While traditionalism would mean that you follow traditions without asking any questions. You accept stuff as is. Okay, everyone? Let's move on. Okay, so that was a very important introduction. I'm sure it's going to help us as we proceed with the chapter. So in the chapter, we shall read some extracts from the Laches, which is a dialogue written by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. So by now we know who Plato is. Plato is a Greek philosopher, an ancient one. And we're talking about the 5th century BCE. BCE means before our current era, which means before the Christian calendar. We're talking about the time, we're now 2023. We're talking about before 2023. This is what we call before current era. So what is it that we're trying to achieve here? We're reading those extracts to see how Plato uses philosophical argument to question traditional beliefs. So Plato is questioning traditional beliefs, is challenging them, which means Plato is a moral traditionalist or a moral rationalist. What do you think? If he questions and challenges moral or traditional moral beliefs. Go ahead.
Moral rationalist.
Moral rationalist. So this is some kind of introduction about traditional belief. And it's done through an example, a very interesting one. It's talking about dock leaves. So these are leaves. Can you see the leaf here? This is called a dock leaf. Okay. And people say that they are a good remedy if you have nettle stings. If you get stung by a nettle or a needle, some kind of ibra, and something happened to your finger, for example. So tradition has it that you apply a dock leaf on it. You put like the image here. All you need to do is you apply the dock leaf on the hurt or injured area, and the next thing you know is that it heals. So this is something that you would hear from your mother or your grandmother. I'm sure there have been occasions in your life when, for example, you have a headache and you don't go to the pharmacy right away, or you don't go to the doctor's office. What do you do if you have a headache? You go to the doctor's office right away. You go
No.
to
You,
the pharmacy.
you take Panadol.
Yes. Yeah, the first thing that I would do, I would go to my mother and perhaps tell her about the problem, and she would suggest and recommend something. So she may go and, um, make you some tea, or and she would add mint to it. She can even boil mint for you, right? So these are what?
Yes.
These are homemade remedies that your mother didn't go to medical school for, right? Where did your mother get information about these things from?
From her
From her,
mother.
yeah, from her
Yes.
mother. And
And her
where did
mother
her
took
mother?
it
Yeah,
from
yeah,
her
yes,
mother. It's from
yeah.
yani.
So this is tradition. Yes, this is
Yeah,
tradition.
tradition. Yeah.
Did she stop her mother and ask why? Why do you think dock leaves are good for this or that? Obviously, they don't ask. They just
No.
apply the thing, and if it helps, that's fine, right? So this is what we mean by tradition. So you apply that to small things like applying leaves on an injured or a wounded area in your body, or a headache. And you apply it also when it comes to beliefs that you also inherit, traditional beliefs. Like for example, in our culture, and part of our beliefs would be that um, it's not about allowing. It's not a very good thing for a girl or a young lady to stay out until it's after 12 uh, a.m., for example, right?
Yes.
Mm. So this is a belief, a tradition that we don't stop and ask uh, as why is this happening? Why whether it's good or bad? And sometimes you have situations where there are emergencies, or perhaps um, she is a nurse and she works on a shift basis, right? When it comes to beliefs, those exceptions obviously don't exist. So this is a situation where you have beliefs that people subscribe to and follow without asking. Again, why? Because they come from the past. So that belief has been handed down from generation to generation, much as a family heirloom might be handed down. It's exactly like property that you inherit, or yeah, whatever you inherit, whatever physical things that you. But nobody tests the truth behind beliefs. So this is all um, have been passed down from one generation to another, and we just absorb them, we use them, we follow them without examining them, without checking whether they are correct or wrong. exactly like the dog leave. And here are examples of beliefs that we've been following. So many of our beliefs are traditional. They include ethical or moral beliefs. And ethical and moral beliefs are beliefs about the ways in which people should conduct their lives and treat other people. One example would be it is wrong to tell a lie. This is a belief. It's something that we inherited from the past. Um, when I say there is nothing wrong with eating meat, this is another belief. When I say it's wrong to eat pork, this is also a belief that we inherited. So we accept those beliefs on trust. On trust means that we don't challenge them, we don't question them, we take them as is. Okay. Um, and there is this idea why do we sometimes follow those beliefs and we don't question them? Because sometimes if you question them, it becomes a problem. Because if everyone agrees to them and you come out, and obviously you're the only one who doesn't believe in this belief, that can cause friction, that can cause problem. This is a sign of non-conformity. This is a sign of dissent, and it can cost you uh, a lot of things. If it's a religion, you can be excommunicated. If it's a societal belief, you can be um, ostracized. If it's university belief, you can be dismissed from university. So sometimes um, um, not expressing, uh, dissatisfaction with this or that belief can bring in harmony in society where everybody conforms and nobody is challenging anything. But that can bring in harmony and conformity in society. So why do people deep down, without thinking, why they believe in those things? And no, traditional moral beliefs are shared by the members of a community. So as long as all members of the community act in accordance with traditional beliefs, everyone will know what kind of behavior to expect from everyone else. So people will get on well with each other. But if individuals start questioning traditional beliefs, there will be confusion and conflict. So in the interest of harmony and stability in society, sometimes people have to agree and have to follow the same set of traditions. Again, one encouraging reason why sometimes we follow those beliefs is that they have a long history. They came to us from an older generation, and they came to the older generation from an older generation. And obviously, if they came to us from that far, it means that they have been tested and they are correct. They have a track record, a good one. And you would think of yourself, you would say, if all those people agreed on that down through the ages, am I going to be the one who knows better and can improve things? No, keep things as they are, because obviously there were more people who agreed on this kind of thing. So, and you're only one individual with a very personal experience that wouldn't count in the final analysis. This is all about explaining the difference like I did. So the view that tradition is the best source of moral beliefs is called moral traditionalism, like we agree. Moral traditionalism has been rejected by many philosophers, again, for obvious reasons, because philosophers use their minds. So the opponents, those who oppose moral traditionalism, include philosophers who adopt a position known as moral rationalism. What is moral rationalism? It's the belief that we ought to question existing moral beliefs. We need to question and challenge them, and keep only the beliefs that can be rationally defended and explained. If we can explain them using our minds, if they can find justification in our mind, we accept them. Okay, so the whole chapter is about Plato, and Plato is a philosopher, so you would expect him to be a moral rationalist. And if you expect him to be a moral rationalist, it means that he would have issues with traditional moral beliefs, because he would insist that we subject traditional beliefs to reason and the mind. If the mind accepts, that's fine. If the mind does not accept, that's not fine. So obviously the mind will not accept a lot of those moral traditional beliefs. And this is going to be the whole argument next time. I would like to stop on this note, and with this item. And inshallah, I'll see you next week on Monday for the rest of the chapter, inshallah. Yalla, see you. Assalamu alaikum.
دكتور بس ما تنسى ترشح
عليكم السلام.
أنا نسيت وما عنديش وقت للأسف. I'll if you can send me an email. Are you the only one who cannot see her mark, or does this apply to everyone?
Everyone, I still haven't seen my grade of the quiz.
Okay.
All of us.
Sir, I
Right.
want to also, when is the second quiz?
The second quiz is going to be, we're finishing Plato next week. So the second quiz is going to be on Thursday next week, and it's going to be on Plato.
So the 10th, it's going to be on the 10th.
Inshallah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Again, send me an email and I'll check them up for you. But not today, tomorrow, inshallah.
شكرا دكتور يعطيك العافية.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
doctor.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.